Good morning. Happy Monday. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. Early Monday morning here at the West Coast Empire here. Sun hasn't risen, but the drama has. We're going to get into this story we talked about over the weekend. Reality Steve has an update. It's a Bachelor in Paradise spoiler story, so if you don't want the spoilers, I say just ride it out. Just go check out the episodes tonight and tomorrow night. We'll have live streams, and we'll talk about what's going on the show. We'll have a preview coming to you guys afterwards, but right now this story really jumps to the finish line. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals. Private bonus content on patreon.com/Dave Neal. So Saturday evening, and you guys know I don't like to make content in the afternoon. It's too late in the day. I like to save it for the morning. But Saturday evening, a bunch of different information came all at the same time from different sources. And I reported that Victoria Fuller may have cheated on Johnny DeFilippo with Greg Grippo or possibly somebody else. The story's foggy, but my source, I believe, it's not some random person, and we've already discussed this. I believe my source that Victoria either led Johnny on or he took the relationship seriously and she didn't. This is where it gets complicated, right? Because we're going to play what Reality Steve has to say about it in a second. And Reality Steve has talked about DMs that he did receive back in September that said that she's broken things off. So the timeline is going to be very important to figuring this story out. The timeline's hard to figure out when they're already doing safe house visits and keeping their relationship secret. Do you know what I mean? So in a normal world, you could say, well, so-and-so was photographed at a bistro with so-and-so on this date. They're already avoiding being seen in public. So it becomes very difficult to say exactly when they broke up, when she may have moved on, or if they were still together and it's what type of cheating. And I don't want to get into the specifics of was it emotional cheating or physical because we have no information regarding the specifics of that. So I just ask people to sort of hold off on any sort of judgment because we're just going to have to wait and see how that all plays out. So we made that video on Saturday, and a lot of information has kind of come out right before that video, including the photos that were sent to me Saturday morning, which said this is Victoria Fuller and Greg Grippo in Capri, Italy. And I go, oh my gosh, how the hell am I supposed to know whether this is them or not? You know what I mean? This alone would obviously not be story worthy. Zach Reality had tweeted earlier this weekend, it's my understanding a couple in Bachelor in Paradise broke up. Of course, all eyes are on Johnny and Victoria there. And then this came out, which again, I've already played, but I'll show for you one more time. When you are at the Coliseum and see Greg Grippo and Victoria Fuller from Bachelor Nation, she says it multiple times that she really believes it. She said right here, it may have been Johnny, but either way, she says in the comment section, I believe that it's and what we found out is that Johnny actually was in Miami. We were kind of, in my first video I made on Saturday, I was kind of like, I don't know. There's no real proof that Johnny's in Miami. The easy answer is that Johnny was accompanying her in Italy. And then we go, oh no, she says it was definitely Greg. Okay. Of course, this is just some random TikToker and, she didn't get any videos of it happening. But then the other person who posted said, oh, it was them. So we have that. But then again, if Victoria is broken up with Johnny and she is in Italy with Greg, then it's not that huge of a story other than it's kind of like you just moved on from someone you were engaged with. But, all credit due, the way I look at these engagements is just like not casual dating, but it's like when you make it official because these engagements are ridiculous, So I don't personally look at the engagement as some be-all, end-all thing. But of course, it's like at what point did the relationship end and at what point did things move on? So yesterday, let's see if I can. Yesterday, Johnny DeFilippo posts unwell. So this might be the first he's knowing that she's moving on. Obviously, no ring there. Not that he would be wearing one in the first place. Let's go to what Reality Steve had to say with regards to the information he sourced with this whole subject. We're just going to play a couple of clips from him. And, him and I, of course, have talked kind of back and forth about this. He gets a ton of information he doesn't share. But he's going to share some information he received last month that he didn't deem credible. Or at least couldn't back it up.
How do I mute this? Anna.Christine with 2 E's. She posted that she is in Italy, and the caption says, when you were at the Coliseum and see Greg Grippo and Victoria F. from Bachelor Nation. And then she did a panoramic view of it, but we couldn't see anything. There wasn't, Greg and Victoria weren't in it. And then a picture was sent to Dave Neal, and Dave did a video on his YouTube channel dissecting, is it Victoria, is it Greg? Could it possibly be Johnny? What's going on here? Dave and I had a lot of conversations over this weekend, a lot of voice messages back to back, back and forth to each other. So here's what I'm going to say. I think there's a lot of things at play here, and I think there's three main things that we're talking about.
This is so true that there's so much at play here that makes it hard to figure this out because the relationship's already under wraps in the first place.
We can be talking about, and not all of them have to be true or related to this TikTok.
Okay,
the first thing is that, are Victoria and Johnny even together anymore? Number two, if they're not, is Victoria seeing, talking to, dating Greg Grippo? And number three, were Victoria and Greg Grippo, or are Victoria and Greg Grippo in Italy this past weekend, and was that TikToker correct? Not all three have to be a yes.
One out of three of these things is a story.
But here's what I can tell you. Back on September 15th, I got a DM saying that Johnny and Victoria had broken up. And that DM, which I shared with Dave, I'm not making this up, 7 weeks after the fact, I shared it with Dave and I said, look, this is what I was told 6 weeks ago. And they said on September 15th it had happened a week prior. And I'm like, okay. But that person that sent it to me, when I started asking follow-up questions, they couldn't give me any sort of hard proof. It was just, hey, this is what happened. Some people in the know that I know about it. And I was like, okay.
No, and I've also seen the DM that Reality Steve hasn't shared, and it's about as credible. I mean, it's still a DM. You're still taking someone's word for it. But when you try to confirm with somebody if their information is true, and the sources in these types of scenarios don't want to come forward, even anonymously, because it becomes so obvious that it's someone's cousin. I'm just making this up, right? It's become so obvious that it's like, I saw so-and-so at a barbecue. Well, there's only 7 people there. So when you have a source in something so intimate of a situation, they clearly want the information out, but they don't want you to share the screen grabs, because then it can become like very clear who they are, and then they're violating their friend's trust, this and that.
But have I said post September 15th that Johnny and Victoria were still together? Absolutely. And here's why. 2 reasons, and I can tell you flat out what they are. Number 1, I didn't have concrete evidence.
Okay, so he says he doesn't have concrete evidence. We get all that. And then he also talks about, and by the way, go listen to Reality Steve's podcast here, because he's very careful to not share certain info with Victoria Fuller, because during Pilot Pete's season of The Bachelor, Reality Steve reported that he had received more emails about Victoria Fuller than anybody else. And he reported on these emails that were people that said she was a homewrecker. She was dating married men, multiple, dozens, a lot. And none of those things were proven to be false. But at the same time, nobody wanted to come forward and like put their name in front of it. So he's kind of stuck in a tough place where, the information most people believe to be real, but people just don't want to get involved. And even her friends had commented, like, she wasn't the one who was married, it was them, kind of like that type of thing. So it's one of those, like, not guilty of any crimes. It's just kind of like a character thing. So let's see what Reality Steve has to say next.
Constantly about things. I'm only going to put out there, though, what I believe to be true, and if I can support it with some sort of evidence. I was told September 15th that Johnny and Victoria had broken up, but I had nothing to go off of, so I just kept going with, hell, even if I would have said post September 15th, when someone asked me, hey, are the couple still together that got engaged at the end of Paradise? If I would have said, yeah, I know Brandon and Serena are, hearing some things about Johnny and Victoria, I can't even say that, because that immediately also turns into, oh, he's already hearing things, that must mean they're broken up, or there's trouble in Paradise, or whatever. So I couldn't even say that. And so I just kept with, yeah, I'm hearing they're engaged. Even though, behind the scenes, yeah, I had heard that they were broken up, but I'm not going to say that. I'm not even going to say I'm hearing rumblings that things might be bad, because I'm hearing rumblings turns into factual. Reality Steve is reporting they've broken up.
Now, of course, what I've heard is way more than rumblings. What I've got isn't necessarily a DM from a stranger. It's people within the Bachelor community. But also, we have to, and like I said, when I shared this source, not the actual source, but when I shared this information, the people that are speaking don't necessarily have all the information either. Could it have been that Johnny and Victoria were already broken up, and she did a clean break, and then she moved on? Yeah, that could have been the case. But I stand by the fact that this post by Johnny, unwell, and the idea that Johnny was not on board and was surprised by a lot of the events that have been coming out, I believe that there's definitely crossover in these timelines. So you just start looking backwards, and August 30th, it's hard to find articles about this because it was such a non-story, but Nick and Natalie had a white party, and Nick Viall had a white party, everyone dressed up in white. Victoria Fuller stuns in all white at Natalie Joy's birthday party. Okay, it was Natalie's birthday party, Nick's girlfriend. So this was the party. We got some photos, whatever. They're good friends, Victoria and Natalie. This is from Be Real, that app where it tells you have to take a photo at a specific time, and it's like the idea is like, oh, you take a photo in the moment. I just joined it, Neal's. I don't know what I'm doing on it, but they take this photo there, and then there was also a bunch of other Instagram stories that also had Greg Grippo at the party. Now, Greg can be at the party, and I don't want to bring him any farther into this topic than not, because he could have innocently been at the party, met Natalie, oh, nice to meet you, whatever. Then Natalie and Johnny have a breakup, and then Greg and Natalie go on a vacation together. That could absolutely have happened. The one thing, I'm not trying to correct Steve, but the one thing I don't know is whether or not the source who told me she cheated, whether or not it was with Greg. So she could have said, she could have cheated with Joe Schmo, and then they broke up, and now she's in Italy with Greg. I don't know. That's just something like being pieced together right now, whether he's involved in the cheating aspect of that allegation or not. So anyway, there's photos, there's Instagram sort of stories. They've all been, Instagram stories disappear, that place Greg and Victoria both at that party in Los Angeles. And then here's just a clip I pulled up of, because we remember, here's where it gets sort of like, I don't say true colors, but you can kind of see a repeated thing happening here. Who did Victoria Fuller and Johnny date in Bachelor Nation? Victoria appeared on Peter's season of The Bachelor, where she finished in top 3. However, her stint on season 24 was riddled with drama. We had the Chase Rice thing. During her hometown date, Peter never even made it inside to meet her family because he was pulled aside by an ex who resided in Virginia Beach and claimed to know Victoria. The woman alleges that the contestant was responsible for breaking up marriages by having affairs with married men. Okay, so this was on air. This wasn't just some random DM or some random messages to Reality Steve. This was on air. Victoria denied the accusations during after the Rose finale, saying any rumors floating around were absolutely not true. And if you remember, during that hometown visit when they got in this fight, the conversation that Peter and Victoria had, she turned everything around against him. And what I've been told through some of these the people that have been talking to me is that Victoria was accusing Johnny of cheating, and of course was trying to flip things around on him. It's going to be messy. Whatever happened, it's going to hopefully come out in the finale, which is going to be in just 3 or 4 weeks here, or right before Thanksgiving. So all I can tell people is we can like talk about it all we want, but until we get more information, and we might just get full denials. We might just get full denials from people. But, the truth has a way of coming out, so we'll have to see how it all plays out. The other interesting thing that people have brought up with regards to whether or not that's Greg in Italy is that Greg's mom posted this photo, which I don't want to share. Like, let's not even get into the semantics or the specifics of the photo, but I just wanted to share that it's the one photo that has the comments turned off. And the photo that was posted by Greg's mom was saying, like, it said, "Great Friday night dinner with all 25 of us." And again, the question is, was Greg actually there this Friday and then jet off to Rome? Is he in New Jersey and not in Rome? Or was this photo from weeks earlier or from, some previous time, and the comments were turned off because they don't want family members to be like, we weren't there on Friday, and then it becomes a whole thing. Okay, so we're pretty deep into the rabbit hole here. The X-File music's, I got it, that's not it. Here's the X-Files. Yeah, that's not X-Files music here. So We'll see what other information we have coming out. I'll be live before tonight's episode at 7 p.m. East Coast, 4 p.m. Pacific. I haven't been live the last couple of weeks because I've obviously been abroad, getting married and doing my thing. So I'll be live before and possibly after tonight's episode. We'll see how long the day goes. And then we have another episode tomorrow. Let's go back to the... see what we have here for the how many episodes we have left. What are we on now? The 24th and 25th? So we've got a ton of episodes left. We'll see how the relationship all plays out. The other thing is a lot of people have said, oh, the engagement was pretty fake. Here's what I can confirm. I can confirm that the sources have told me that on Johnny's side that he was taking it as a real engagement. So this isn't one of those like fake kind of like, showmance things. Like he was taking it as a real thing and was probably pretty heartbroken over all the stuff that's come out. All right, folks, more content coming your way. We'll talk to you in a minute.